Hi, this is Lynn Drake with Compass Commercial, and today my guest is Norhett. How are you doing today?
Wonderful, Lynn. How are you today? Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Norhett is from Stewart Title. She's the Vice President of National Commercial Sales, and she's actually been in the real estate industry since 1999. And she's worked in escrow, lending, and title work. And she's been doing title insurance for quite a long time. And she also is a giver. She is currently the chapter president of Crew for Inland Empire Chapter, which is a lot of work. I really salute you for putting all that time and effort into helping other women.
Thank you. It definitely is something that I looked forward to when I decided to step into that role. And it's so nice to see ways that we're helping each other and uplifting each other in our industry through the Crew platform.
Yes, it's important. Okay, so let's see. Stewart was started in Galveston, Texas in 1893. They've been helping buyers, sellers, lenders for over 150 years. They serve they do commercial services, home buyers services, seller services, home building and developers. They help international real estate brokers and agents and real estate lenders and relocation services for title agencies. Anything you want to add?
I think you've definitely covered it there. Our company has been helping people through the closing process for 150 years now. And it's something that, obviously we do quite well if we're still here after that long period of time. But we enjoy helping people in this process. And it is really a process. And it is something that it's not just title insurance is something that just comes along with the transaction that you're doing. It really is a main part of it.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start off with the questions. Why don't you share with everybody what is title insurance?
So title insurance basically is helping and protecting owners and lenders against any loss or damage due to liens, encumbrances, or defects to the title on a piece of property.
Okay, so why is this important?
So, you're not going to know what's recorded on your property unless you have someone like myself kind of do a deep dive into it. The title industry is an important part of every American's life. And that may seem like a grandiose claim to say, but the work we do benefits not only the individual policyholder that we insure, but the nation as a whole. And yet many people are unfamiliar with what title insurance is and what it does and from the benefits that they receive and why we need a healthy title industry. We protect policyholders from the unknown. More than likely, a piece of commercial real estate or possibly your home is the biggest investment that you've made. And we protect your interest in that investment. Other types of insurance, such as flood, auto, or homeowners insurance, provide coverage that focus on possible future events. Title insurance protects against loss from hazards and defects already existing in the title to a property. So if you don't mind, Lynn, I can kind of, share some examples for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can take it kind of a step. So basically, one example is improperly executed documents. So maybe these documents for a deed or a deed of trust on your home were false, revoked, possibly there's expired powers of attorney. Maybe someone has given power of attorney to another family member to help execute and transfer property, but maybe the document expired and someone decided to change the date on it. Title insurance companies, we go through these documents and we do that research to make sure that the documents we receive are true and they're legal. And we have a false impersonation of the true landowner all the time, which is also known as document fraud. And I can't tell you the amount of times in my career I've had people walk into my office and they've said, oh no, I think I own this property, but it says that John Smith owns this property. And 9 times out of 10, John Smith has recorded something incorrectly, maybe not intentionally. Maybe
Mhm.
they've done it through a improper legal description or a property transfer that they weren't trying to transfer. Maybe John Smith is the neighbor next door and he included your, property number, ID number, or APN number on a document. And
Mhm.
that's the interesting thing about county recorders. I had this happen just recently on a transaction that I done on some individual home lots in Coachella Valley, California. And basically, the legal description for the property was for the entire land parcel. And it had 7 different lots on this one parcel, and or parcel map, I should say. And even though the deed itself was written correctly and it referenced only one assessor's parcel number, the legal description was for all 7 lots. So it didn't transfer just one of the lots, it transferred all 7 to the new owner. So that was something that had to be then corrected.
Mhm.
So it's very important that you have some handle that process for you and that is willing to go back and have a look and see what was done correctly or incorrectly. And everything can be fixed. It just needs to be done properly from the start. Let's put it that way. That's the best way to go about it.
Great. That's a good description. Why choose a commercial real estate division for title work versus a one that does simply residential?
So, Lynn, title companies are structured individually, mostly with commercial services being one arm and then residential services being another.
Mhm.
And the reason why we set it up separately is because both have different needs that need to be served. And we employ people in the commercial services division that are educated in commercial real estate, commercial product, and the needs that are going to be coming along with the transaction that is commercial in nature. Same thing to be said for the residential division of companies. They are educated and trained to handle residential problems that could arise. And title insurance is title insurance on both products. However, you definitely need a specialty individual and a specialty team to
Mhm.
handle certain commercial real estate transactions because they're not cookie cutter. They're all different. And I explain it kind of in this manner. A podiatrist and a heart surgeon are both doctors. However, you wouldn't see a podiatrist for your heart problem. You would want to see a specialist for that. And I
Right.
think that's just the easiest way to go about it is we specialize in commercial real estate services for a reason. There isn't usually a product problem that we have not seen that we can't overcome.
I often see residential agents getting into the commercial industry and they are using the residential title insurance. So generally what I suggest to my client is we use our own title insurance to make sure that we're covered. If they're not covered, that's not my issue. The buyer, or if they don't have the right representation, I let them figure out what they need to do themselves. So I think that's important for residential
Definitely,
agents to realize.
it is. And sometimes, we all like to use our favorite title company and our favorite title person, and they are our go to for our services and our needs. And I have never met a real estate agent that would turn away a transaction. So if you're selling homes and the client you have just happens to want to buy an office building, let's say, definitely you're not going to pass that off to somebody else. You're going to want to keep that transaction to yourself. And so you're going to go to your residential title company that's been handling all of the work for you.
Mhm.
And what you might not realize is that behind the scenes, they might not have someone they can turn to answer the questions they need to. So then they turn to the divisions of companies like ours for their answers to the questions that they need to have done. So we wind up helping close that transaction, and most people don't even know that. So it's a team effort all the way around, and we like to help people get transactions closed, but there is a specific reason for working with a commercial team versus a residential one.
Right. Well, if you're going to use a residential agent, make sure you got an attorney on your side too, because contracts aren't the same either. they don't seem to get that, but anyways, okay.
Agreed.
Due diligence. What is it and why is it important?
So due diligence is a term that people use in a lot of different aspects of commercial real estate. And due diligence in our field is basically what I like to say, peeling the layers of the onion on something that you're interested in possibly purchasing. Or maybe it's something you purchased and you didn't peel all the layers of the onion. So you're looking at a piece of land possibly, or an office building, whatever it may be. And you need to know what the next steps are for what you want to do. So if it's land and you want to develop it, you need to know where all the easements are. So maybe this particular piece of property has an Edison easement that will inhibit you from actually building a structure on that property. Or maybe the easement is running diagonally through the property, so you can build in the front corner or the back corner, but you can't put the building you wanted in the middle of the property.
Yep.
So things like that we take care of in due diligence. We look at those things up front. And if there's something recorded on the title that's a cloud on title, maybe there's back child support, maybe there are tax liens, maybe there was a loan that was paid off years ago, but it's still showing, or a private beneficiary note that's there that's still showing. So we take care of that information up front. And I like to get that done up front because when you have a potential buyer and you're looking at something, you want to look at a report that's clean, that's going to show you just the things that you need to be looking at for the future of what you want to do. And same thing if it's already something that's built. I mean, we sell office buildings all the time, and some office buildings share parking lots with other office buildings. Are there reciprocal easement agreements recorded on that? When is the date that they're going to expire? All of those different things can be found out ahead of time before you sign on the dotted line, before you put your deposit into escrow. So that's why I think that it's important to get due diligence done upfront.
Do you have many people coming to you to run title before they even put the building up for sale?
Yes, yes, all the time. And it's actually something when I'm interviewing with a new client and seeing if they want to work with me, I tell them up front the things that I like to make sure we take care of. And that is one of them. I want a property history report. I want to know what they are planning to do with that property. How long are they going to hold that investment? So everything that I can find out up front, I can help ease the process and make it come out the way that it's supposed to, basically getting everything to the finish line. That's what I like to say.
I think too, I never thought about that, to be quite honest with you. It'd be a good selling point though, that you already have the title work, and well, you know that nothing's going to stop you either. I mean, because that's part of the due diligence period. Why not just get that straightened out before you get going? New concept to me. Thank you. Do you need title insurance to transfer property?
So the answer to the question is no, you do not. But I will tell you that you most certainly should have title insurance to transfer property. And if you're someone that's savvy in properties and buying, selling, you know that you can create a deed, draft it, get it notarized, and transfer a piece of property and have it recorded with the county recorder's office in whatever county that particular property is owned. The problem is that it's not an insured transaction. And if you hope to sell that property later on, the title insurance company that you go to is going to look at that deed that was recorded, or that deed of trust, or that private note that was put on your property for some money that you borrowed. And they're going to want the history of absolutely everything about it. So we scrutinize that because we did not insure a transaction, or one of our sister companies or one of the big four companies out there didn't insure that transaction. So we need to make sure that it was actually done legally and properly and the documents were correct. So that's why I always say, get title insurance on everything. Definitely call your favorite title person first, or the title company that you're used to working with, and tell them what you're doing and why you're doing it. because most times there might be a different type of a deed that you need to be completing versus just a quick claim deed or a transfer deed. Maybe you need interspousal deed, maybe you need a, a guarantee deed. There's all different types. So unless you know what you're doing or you're an attorney that's doing these things, definitely call your title insurance company and find out what it is specifics that you're needing. And definitely get title insurance when you're transferring a property. And people don't realize maybe they're just transferring property between a brother and a sister, or they're adding on a family member. Maybe the parents are getting older and they want their kids to come into title. And that's fine. Title companies can help you do those types of transfers as well.
Can you talk about the two different title insurance policies? So there's one for the buyer and one for the seller, and how sometimes we end up with two title companies.
So there are two policies. So one covers the seller and one covers the buyer. So there's in California a CLTA policy, which is a standard owner's policy, which covers basically the seller of the property is paying for that policy, and it's covering the buyer is what it's covering. And it's covering for the inception of the time that the new property owner owns that particular property. So title insurance is a little bit different than other insurances you might have. So title insurance is effective from when you close on a transaction and while you or your heirs own that particular piece of property. So the policy is good for all of those years. So it's a one-time policy that's purchased. So you have the policy that basically your seller pays for in some states, other states, it's a different story, but it covers the seller transferring the title to the buyer. And then it covers the buyer when the transaction closes until the buyer chooses to transfer that title on that property again later on. And then there's also a lender's policy, which covers the lender. So the lender has their own list of requirements that they're looking at when they're going to be loaning on a property. So they want those requirements and their money investment that they're loaning on the property insured. And that's what a lender's policy insures for you. And there's a fee for both of them. In most cases, the seller pays for the policy that's going to be covering the buyer, and then the buyer pays for the lender's policy, which the lender needs to insure the loan that they're getting on their property.
So if somebody is paying cash for a property, maybe it's just a lot, would they need to get they wouldn't need the lender's insurance in that case?
That is correct. They would not.
Is there something you would recommend they buy instead?
No. The policy that they're getting as the buyer, regardless as if they're paying cash or they're getting a loan, if they're paying cash on something, then obviously the CLTA or the standard coverage policy coming with the property, that will cover them. If they aren't getting a loan itself, then they won't need a lender's policy.
So can you give us 3 key reasons why someone would reach out to someone like you on a transaction?
So, someone like myself working in the national commercial space, I am the single point of contact on their transaction, whether it be in Kansas, California, or somewhere else throughout the globe. They contact me and I'm their contact for that transaction. And if you are someone savvy in purchasing real estate and you've done several transactions, you understand that maybe if you live in Kansas and you're buying a property in Hawaii, that when you're dealing with someone in that state, you really lose control of a transaction. You lose the interaction because it's not someone that you're used to working with. And maybe their rules and regulations are different in that state, in that county, and the processes aren't the same. So you need someone that you can count on to explain those things to you and that are going to help you get that transaction to the finish line. So that's why I provide a single point of contact for all of my clients throughout the globe, basically. For anything they're doing, they call me and I handle the transaction for them with my team here in California. And that's how we've set title companies up now. It's just different. It used to be everything had to be done directly in that state. And we do work with other states and other countries for documentation and such, but we're really closing and handling your transaction wherever we are, wherever you choose to be, with now the way email and everything else is working in our industry. So it's nice. I'm able to do that from my office in Los Angeles, and I close transactions for my clients across the globe.
Mhm. Yeah, you don't have to be in
So
person
another reason,
anymore. Sorry.
no, we don't really have to be in person. And, some states do a roundtable closing where they do want everyone there. And in fact, we are there for that, for those types of closings. So it's just about basically navigating, each different state or country's rules and regulations.
Mhm,
So, I mean, item number two, why people, come to me is because they know that I'm going to solve the problem for them. And
mhm.
there always is a problem. No transaction is ever perfect. It's never just a one, two, three close. There's always going to be something that comes up or something that someone has a
Right.
question on. And that's what I do. I solve the problem for them. So that's the second reason why somebody definitely comes to someone like myself. And the third reason is that we don't know what we don't know. I find out what we don't know and I take care of it.
That's very useful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's see. If you're purchasing or selling out of state property, what do you need to know?
So, each state has its own set of rules and regulations, or what some would call industry standards. So, it's my job to manage and close to those standards. And the rules are different for different counties in different states. And so that's what we do. I navigate those rules and make sure that we are abiding by them, and then we're able to close in the manner in which that state needs a transaction to close. I have a little rules handbook for each state across the US that I like to give my clients that purchase property across the nation.
Mhm.
And it's nice to know. It's just a trifold little brochure that comes out, but it tells who pays for what, who handles the closing process. Is it an attorney state? Is it a title state? Who handles the documentation? Um, is there mortgage insurance? Is there transfer tax? All
Right.
those different things that come
Mm.
along. And so, like I say, you don't know what you don't know, right? You know that a broker has come to you with this wonderful investment opportunity on a Dollar General in Ohio, but you don't know what the rules and regulations are for purchasing real estate in Ohio. So you need a specialist there. And we're able to help with all of the closing process, working with your broker wherever they may be.
That's great. Let's see what else. So, how did you get into title insurance? How did you choose that?
I like to say it kind of chose me. So, growing up, my family has a long history of being in the real estate industry. My father owned Century 21s in the 60s and mortgage companies in the 70s and the 80s. And he
Mhm.
retired in 1990. And I was in sixth grade at that time. But I remember growing up, the best part of my day would be working alongside my dad at the office. And when I was 7 and 8 years old, I could package a loan, figure out the point spread that we're going to get on the back end, pick all of those things that you're supposed to know, at age 8, right? But I enjoyed that so much. And when I went through college and started doing that, I was working part-time in an escrow office at that point in time.
Mhm.
And then finishing college, I started working in lending, and I wanted to open up my own loan broker, basically.
Mhm.
And I had furniture and a lease signed and everything. And one day I got an opportunity and a job offer from Old Republic Title in Riverside, California. And I met with this wonderful lady named Christy Sims Munoz. She's an amazing woman. She's still a mentor for me in life. And she hired me to work in sales for Old Republic. And it was interesting. I remember talking to my dad saying, well, should I do this? I've got my lease signed. I'm ready to get into, being a mortgage broker. This is what I want to do. And he says, it never hurts to learn. You can always be learning. So maybe you learn more about title insurance. And then we can always open up this company later. Well, a year into title insurance, I just said, wow, this is really what I love. And I love my clients. My clients are the best part of my day. And I just never looked back. So it was kind of an interesting pathway to get here. But I love my business, my industry, and my clients are the most fabulous part of my life.
Your life is not much different than mine. My parents were investors too. That's so funny. I guess that's what we come in with every night at dinner
So
table
true.
was what investment are we making this week? That was that was my family time. Um, so you've been in this business for over 20 years. What have you learned since you've been in it?
Oh my goodness. I have learned that I will always be learning. I don't think there's ever a transaction that I'm doing that I'm not learning something new. And I would just say that I think that is what I tell some of my clients because the transactions they do are complex and they're different. And I
Mhm.
enjoy working with them because I am learning something. And I don't think we ever have all the answers and we ever know, every I that needs to be dotted or T that needs to be crossed. And that's why you have a team of people that work alongside you to help you get things done. So
Yes.
it's more than just me. It's my team, it's the people that are on the inside team, it's so much more than that. But it's always constant learning. And I think that's what I love about it more than anything.
Yeah, laws are always changing, right? Got to keep up
Yes,
on it
they are. And we have to learn new ones all the time.
all the time. So, what direction do you see commercial real estate moving in the future?
I see commercial real estate basically evolving more than it ever has before, honestly. And I believe, right now we're kind of in an industrial revolution.
Hmm.
And Globe Street just printed an article last week. And between Los Angeles County and then the Inland Empire here in California, they're one and two in the industry of the industrial market across the nation right now.
Hmm.
And what is happening in our country with that is just exploding. And I think people are going to be investing more and more into commercial real estate and all the different forms of it moving forward. And I think it's something that most people, in the 90s growing up watching the investors that work with my dad and different things, they really only invested in real estate. And then of course, when we had the downturn in the 90s, these people were not fortunate. I mean, they lost everything. And if you've been around in this industry long enough, you know that we always have this cyclical cycle. We have the ups, the downs, and then we just have the steady. And what we've seen for the last couple of years is just this growth. And it has been huge growth year over year, moving, forward for all types of people investing in commercial real estate. Usually we see one individual um, product type, but we haven't been seeing that. We've been seeing everything. So I think that the future for commercial real estate is definitely bright. I think more and more people are investing in it every day, whether it be in a Delaware statutory trust, whether it be in a REIT, whether you're just taking your 1031 exchange money for something that you sold and investing in something else. So it's definitely always moving the needle forward. And as long as we have growth, then we have a future in commercial real estate, and everything everywhere right now is growing. And that was one thing that surprised me so much during COVID, more than anything, is how we continue to move forward. And title insurance industries, just like real estate and everything else, they had some of their best years. We had a record year in 2020. We're going to have a record year in 2021. So our industry never stopped. I think we hit pause for a week or two. And then the people that were buyers went, oh, wait a minute. I might be able to get a better deal on that building right now or that piece of property. I'm going to buy it. So it really, we saw growth, and I think we're going to continue to see that.
Thank you. And then my last question for you is, you're involved in crew. So why don't you share with us why you think that's important?
Commercial Real Estate Women's Network is a huge part of what we're doing in our industry now. With all the new diversity, equality, inclusion things that are coming to light in the last couple of years, Crew Network has really been at the forefront of trying to let everyone know what that entails and how we can be a bigger part of it. And Crew, just as an organization, how they uplift and they help everybody, regardless of whether you're a student looking to get into our industry or you're a C-suite person in your career and you're just getting ready to exit. They help you leave either the legacy to those that are coming in or the ones that are becoming a part of it. They help you find jobs and meet people and really find a pathway forward in our
Mhm.
industry. And I will tell you, when I started in this business many years ago, the women weren't always so kind and they weren't always right there for you. And it took me a long time to understand what Crew really was all about. I've been a part of my chapter now for 8 years, and I've been serving on my board in some capacity for 8 years. And the first time I went to the network convention, I was overwhelmed with the amount of women that we get together and how they cared about one another and uplifted one another. And they were happy to help you. They wanted to know about me. They wanted to know what my goals were. They wanted to know where I wanted to go in my industry. And they introduced me to people that could help make that happen. And it's even competitors. At that time, a competitor of mine was a very good friend of mine, and she still is today. And now we work together, and she's my boss. And I wouldn't be with Stewart Title today if it wasn't for her and for her helping open that door and move, that part of my life forward. And I think it's where you get confidence. It's where you get some things in life that you might not get from your job or your spouse or your family. So it's industry knowledge, it's respect, and it's pretty much just finding a love in different ways and things in our industry.
Yeah, I think I'm the longest member in the chapter. I joined, I think it's 1985, which is before Crew National was going, I believe. So, back then I was doing industrial real estate, which was weird enough for a woman. But I've gotten jobs from Crew. I've gotten references from Crew. I've gotten good friends from Crew. So it's an important organization. So I really appreciate your time, Norhett. What I would like you to do now, if you don't mind, is if someone wants to hire you, can you share with us how that they would go about doing that?
I would say reach out to me on LinkedIn, definitely. Um, I'm a big believer in that, along with the Crew Network app. So I'm definitely on both of those platforms, so you can reach me there.
Please note that her name is here on the left side of the screen. At least it is from where I'm standing. I really want to appreciate you. I really appreciate your time today and your effort you put into to make this appointment. And it's been a real it's been a real honor to interview you. So thank you.
Most definitely. And I'm happy to share my email information and such for Stuart as well,
Okay,
if you'd like.
go ahead.
So I can be reached at my first initial N period, my last name Walls at Stewart.com.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to just put something in the subject line, I heard your podcast, or I'm interested in having you help me in my commercial real estate needs, I'll know what that's about. And I look forward to helping you.